Hey everyone, welcome to the Vectra AI podcast. If you're new to the podcast, this is a series where we in the product team will sit down and talk about latest threats, product innovation, and topics that we are passionate about. I'm Tiff, product marketing manager at Vectra AI, and today we have John back with us. So John, why don't you give us a quick intro of yourself?
Hi, folks. John Mancini, Principal Product Manager here. Ready to dig into some fun things we've been doing on identity.
Cool. So today our topic is how does Vectra AI fills identity security gaps in Microsoft? It's actually something that we got a lot from our customers. So we just decided to sit down and talk about it. So let's start. First question I have with you, John, is why don't you give us a quick intro of what is Vectra ITDR?
Yeah. So I think this is a good level set. So when we talk about ITDR at Vectra, what we're really focused on is integrated signal that spans across enterprise environments related to what an identity can do in the course of an attack, and seeing that identity as it progresses and detecting every step of the way. So ultimately, Vectra's ITDR detection response finds a threat actor using an identity on the network through Active Directory, using that Active Directory identity into the cloud, using it in AWS cloud, Azure cloud. Ultimately, when it comes to a cloud identity, that's a federated identity. So using it in Entra ID or Azure ID, and then using it to interact with any SaaS applications, specifically things like Microsoft or any of the AI multipliers that are out there, like Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365. So really about focusing on finding threats with which are involved with an identity that's been compromised.
Yeah. And it's the integrated visibility that really gives a lot of our customer the value and the correlation as well. And they can see it in one console. All right, then moving on to the next question, which we actually get from some customers. So they have Microsoft native identity security coverage. And so how does Vectra AI help in that case?
Yeah, so Microsoft has a lot of very powerful, really effective controls in their Microsoft licenses, both from their E3 license to their E5 license. They've got really great controls that can help you stop an attacker from getting in, but ultimately prevention consistently fails. So MFA, while great, conditional access policies, while great, attackers like Scattered Spider, who are doing things like swim swapping, doing things like MFA bypass techniques, they consistently find ways in. And this is where threat detection and response comes in. Again, what our focus is here. And so what we've been really successful in complementing and really filling in gaps in the terms of Microsoft is on that threat detection piece. And really, there's kind of always three value points we talk about from a Vectra perspective. The first one is ultimately coverage. Vectra has coverage for more techniques and at a greater depth than what you get out of an E3 license or an E5 license. And just kind of for everyone in the audience, E5 license includes that entire Defender suite. So that includes, Defender for cloud apps and the Azure or Entra ID identity protection. We've seen it, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, that if you run basically an attack simulation of kind of one of these ransomware gangs that are out there, of what they do when they go and attack Entra ID or M365, Vectra can find significantly more of that attack with a lot more visibility that allows a defender to stop that threat actor before they progress through. And it's not just having coverage that's important. The other piece is the clarity. And so the types of alerts that Vectra is generating ultimately are less noisy than a lot of the alerts that come through Microsoft in their kind of native alert capabilities. But overall, Vectra's goal is about giving crisp and clear signal. And so AI is involved in both how the detections are generated and in how kind of things are automatically correlated across network, across cloud, into one unified view of a threat. And ultimately, kind of when it comes to Microsoft, we know folks love their Sentinel in terms of like a single pane of glass for signals that are from other tools as well in the logs. Vectra integrates directly into that. And so when you combine these three things together, Vectra ultimately does a really good job of complementing Microsoft because it ultimately finds attacks that Microsoft's native capabilities miss and allows defenders to stop an identity threat actor before damage can get done.
Yeah, and I think it's about like the depth and the breadth of detection that we cover with our AI models, and then adding to that with the simplicity of the workflow that we don't need like a lot of work to build the threat detection models and the engineering work behind. We did that like heavy lift for you so that you can find threats much faster, removing latency and stop the identity attack when it happens.
Yeah, the value, no need to tune rules in Vectra because AI is what's driving the coverage. So no need to write rules or kind of manage that. That's all done automatically by
Yeah,
Vectra's AI, but really by Vectra's engineering and research teams that are optimizing those detections.
yeah, makes sense. So next question is then how can you actually see the gap in the Microsoft's identity coverage?
Yeah, so this is a great question because ultimately, I've made a big kind of statement here about, Vectra is able to find these attacks, find threat actor activity that, could go undetected. Where does that statement come from? That comes ultimately from us seeing basically attackers working in Microsoft environments and progressing their attacks. And what we've seen as a way to kind of help organizations see that themselves is red team testing. And so there's a particular framework that kind of we at Vectra are big fans of called the MAD attack framework, MAD AF, which is really designed to help organizations identify security gaps in Entra ID/Azure AD and M365. It allows teams to execute basically a series of attacker behaviors very, very easily. So it's grown off of tools like AD internals and other kind of identity focused red teaming tools. But it's really meant to be easy, quick, within a very short period of time, let someone understand, oh, wow, an attacker can do all these things in my Entra ID and M365, and they can
Mhm.
progress pretty far. And just as an example, this is kind of a simulation that was run, which mirrored a attack group called Scattered Spider that had been active in 2023 and 2024 pretty heavily. And ultimately, Vectra was able to find basically all of the things that the attacker did as they progressed through M365 and Entra ID, whereas Defender and the E5 license there wasn't able to raise any of those behaviors up for visibility. And so this is, clear example of how Vectra can find attacks that otherwise are missed.
Yeah, makes sense. And we always said that it's always important to battle test, like, and identify gaps in your environment. And security testing can be expensive and can be challenging and might require a lot of expertise in it. But the framework that John just mentioned can really help simplify the whole process. Everyone can run it. It's just on GitHub, and we can put the link in the description box. But it can really show gaps and mimic the real world attacker behavior, which is what that's important for security teams. So, yeah.
And we've had Fortune 500 companies use this. We've had kind of small scale companies. This is a type of technique or for testing that this MAD attack framework's built out that scales to any organization and really something I recommend everyone give a try because it really helps. And it's something where Vectra is willing to help here. We've used this tool a lot, so we can help guide through this. But it's open source. You can find it on GitHub too, and you're welcome to try it on your own.
Yep. So yeah, so feel free to check it out. And if you also haven't checked out our other podcast episode, please go ahead and check it out. Lots of great content there, threat briefing, product innovation. It's all on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you can keep updated on the new episode that came out. Our threat briefings is also on Spotify right now, so make sure you check that out. And with that, thanks, John, for another great episode and nice great insight. And for everyone else, thanks again for tuning in and joining us. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.